we're back again. Kristi and Katie, your crime time friends. Stories, justice, laughs collide. True Crime Squad, come join the ride. Grab the clues, let's take a stand. For victims' voices, hand in hand. True Crime Squad, it's time to shine. Season 6, your turn, your time. True Crime Squad, where justice meets hilarity.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the True Crime Squad. This is Katie Weaver. I'm here with my sister, co-host, and partner in crime, Kristi Brower. Hello.
Hello. Hey, everybody.
And Miss Sandy Kitty.
And Miss Sandy Kitty. Yeah. I think little BB's in here somewhere too. I don't know where
is she?
She may just land on the back of my chair and give me a heart attack at any moment. You know how they love to do that.
Mm-hmm. I have two little true crime doggies at my feet, but they do not like being famous. So, though I am going to show
just
you a
not
really
cats.
sweet picture of Bruno. Right? Yeah, they're just not
Cats
up here showing
like
it off.
My public.
Yeah. Well, how are you? How was your weekend?
I am good. Had a great weekend. Had a nice Father's Day. We got to have the baby for the day, which was really fun. And
yeah, it was.
Gosh, she's getting so big, and it's been really good. I'm printing. I'm getting ready for Pride.
Yeah.
Which is really fun. Having a lot of fun making stuff for that. And guys, I bought a bigger printer. I know. This is going to come as a huge surprise. I actually had a massive fail on one of my printers, to which I have not yet recovered. I have it did a real bad blob, and if you're a 3D printer, you know what that means, and if you're not, you don't. And what it means is that the plastic it's printing, instead of going down and onto your print bed like it's supposed to, there was a malfunction and it went up inside and screwed up a bunch of the mechanics.
That happened here once too. Bad news.
I have actually bought all of the stuff all of the parts to fix that printer, but I have not been able to bring my brain around to the plan. Because it's a lot of friggin' work. And getting hardened plastic out of and off from things requires a huge amount of work and a lighter and,
some heat and
slightly unsafe things that you have to do to make it happen. Yes. But in the meantime, I actually bought a bigger printer. I am really excited about it. And so I've been having a lot of fun. I've been doing a lot of 3D printing, as you can tell. I know I owe one of you. I can't remember. I just saw somebody's name that I went, I owe you something. I do owe you, one of you that's ordered something off Fidget Whimsy that I'm going to take care of this week as well. But I'm honestly just really excited about getting ready for Pride.
Yeah.
And doing a Pride booth. Haven't done one. And we used to have a Pride merch booth every year at Pride when we had our store. And we don't do that anymore. And this is our first time since then. It's going to be fun because this is stuff that I make.
Well, and it's Rexburg Pride. Rexburg is our hometown, and Pride here is really special and really needed. Mormon kids
repping in the hood.
Yeah, well, gay Mormon kids have a terrifying suicide rate, an attempted suicide rate, and so Pride here is just really, really freaking important. And there's always some protesters. I mean, there's a lot of times there's a few old men wandering around with ARs just because they can and stuff like that. So we have no idea. I hope it's just really peaceful and easy this year, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited too. But we've been working on other stuff. First, though, I have to tell you. Well, I was going to show you a picture of true crime dog Bruno.
Oh, Bruno.
Since he never wants to be on camera. There's Bruno.
He's so handsome.
Backyard last week. Isn't he cute? He's just such a cute
boy.
But something incredibly exciting. The crow babies are out.
Yay!
And they have 3 this year.
They've so cool.
never had 3 before. It's always been 1. And last year, none. And this year, they have 3. So
that is exciting.
Yeah, on Friday, the crows were doing a lot of bitching out in the trees. Like, just a ton of scolding and yelling. And I told my husband, I'll bet you were close to seeing babies. This is how they act when the babies are coming out, because they're doing a lot of get out of here and away from my baby kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And then Saturday morning, I went out to feed and I didn't see anybody, but I could hear a lot of carrying on. So I went back in the house. And a little later, I could really hear a lot of scolding. So I went back out, and these three were just sitting up on a branch way up in one of the pine trees in my front yard, just chilling. And mom and dad are swooping around, letting me know to go back in the house if you know what's good for you, lady. And they stayed in that tree almost all day. But today, and I don't have any footage because I just watched. I didn't get my phone out, but all five of them were in one of my big birch tree in my front, or my big maple tree in my front yard, and they were just one of these guys still screams and bawls like a baby, and mom kept swooping in and putting stuff in her mouth, still
Oh,
feeding her.
oh, how funny.
It was so funny. The other two actually were getting out of the tree and pecking around in the yard a little bit, and then they'd flip back up. I think that one is probably the last hatch. Just a
Must
little
be,
bit
yeah.
younger, but it's so exciting. And
How cool. I love it.
sort of sad because then they leave. They'll leave for a while after. Usually in July they take off for a while and then they come back a little later in the fall. But
Ah,
I'm super, super excited to see three. That's just amazing. We had a really mild spring. And I
yeah,
think
we
that's
did.
probably why. But the other thing I had to show you, we told you guys a couple weeks ago that Scott and I had just bought a whole bunch of baby doll molds for slip casting ceramics.
Yeah.
So Scott has been busy. He has been working on making shot glasses and tiny planters. Look at this that came out of the kiln
Oh,
yesterday, or
my
this
God.
morning, actually. Yeah.
I mean, you horror folks are going to love this
I
stuff.
know some of you are
I
like,
am
I'd like
like,
to die.
what the hell? Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of our horror friends will love these. And then here's a couple of the shot glasses that came out this morning as well.
Good God.
Yeah.
Inside the baby's head is where you. Well, that's kind of cool. That's more like a Frankenstein baby.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
That's interesting.
yeah. So he's having a ball with this. And
Obviously.
yeah. Yeah. So we'll see where it goes from here. But yeah, terrifying things coming out of the kiln on a daily. But, right? Halloween planters. Or everyday planters for some people that just love that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah. I mean, if that's your thing, then yeah, you probably have it out in your house all year round, which I think is
yeah.
very cool.
It may not come as a big surprise that we're going to talk about Lori Vallow again and some more. I know.
When are we going to be done with this bitch? Just kidding. I mean, I think it's good. I do enjoy, you're going to see what I have for you today. But
Hmm.
sometimes I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, but we promised we'd talk about the appeal and kind of a debrief from last week since it's all over now.
Yeah.
Uh, have you guys seen Colby's video where he shares the voicemail that Chad left for him? Holy
Holy
shit.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Like the creepy nonchalanty, like nothing's wrong and his sister and brother aren't dead in his backyard kind
Hmm.
of way that he tries to approach that phone call is so fucking weird.
It's just this, hey, this is
Oh,
Chad. We should chat. I hear that you like the Chiefs. Well, I like Patrick Mahomes. He's fun to watch. Yeah, we just need to chat. I'd like to get to know you better. This is after Chad has helped murder his whole family. And
yeah.
he's just leaving him this voicemail like they're just gonna be old chums. Really creepy.
Colby never called him back. He's never actually spoken to him. Go look up Colby's YouTube channel and you'll see it.
After the
It's
show.
his video. We're not going to
We
play it
won't
because it
play
doesn't
it. It's
belong to
his.
us, and
Yeah.
that's most definitely something that is his property. Um, but oh my God, it's chilling.
Mm-hmm.
It is absolutely chilling. And just to think that he thought that this was going to like result in some kind of relationship with Colby.
Yeah.
When did he leave it? So he left it. This was while the children were missing, right? Colby had sent Lori a video bitching her out, like, what the fuck is going on? Where's my sister and brother? Like,
Yeah.
and he happened to be wearing a Chiefs t-shirt at the time. So then Chad calls him back and comments on the t-shirt. Yeah, it's long. It's from a long time ago, Teresa. Yes, but to
Yeah.
hear it now after everything, like, holy shit. And the way
Mm-hmm.
he's like trying to connect with him through football and completely ignoring what the topic of that video that Colby had sent to his mom
Mm-hmm.
about where the hell are JJ and Tylee? What is going
Yeah,
on?
because Lori was refusing to respond to him.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
then
This
Chad
was way
calls him.
back in the day, but holy moly.
It was wow.
It's
Yeah.
just chilling to hear that and think like how nonchalant, hate to use that word in this context, but yet again,
Right.
how nonchalant he was. Like everything is completely fine. And he was really using you can hear it on Colby's page, on Colby's YouTube.
Yeah. On Colby Ryan's
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. Go look it up. He's got it on there. But it
Yeah.
is creepy. Ugh. And he's using that apostle
Sacrament meeting
voice
voice.
or
Yeah.
bishop voice that people that Mormons refer to. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's gross. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
And Colby's like, I would never call that bitch back, Like,
No.
why?
But what the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm.
Irene, just because your face, Chad, looks like you've been hit without a helmet multiple times doesn't mean Colby wants to talk football with you.
We'll just casually chat
Truth.
football while my
Oh,
siblings
yes,
lay
or
dead in your
Scar Wars.
backyard.
That's right. Scar Wars is the
Scar
name of
Wars,
his
yeah.
channel. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that is something. So,
Yeah.
well, let's talk about the appeal. And let's talk about the appeal process in Idaho a little bit so that
Yes.
you guys understand a little bit about what's happening here. So, of course, Lori is entitled to an appeal based on her uh, convictions in Idaho. So, we're talking about the convictions for the murders of Tammy, JJ, and Tylee and the other crimes associated with that. So when she initially was convicted, then they have, I believe, 42 days to file an appeal. So the initial appeal is kind of a placeholder that was filed by Jim Archibald, by her initial public defenders. And then she's assigned an appellate public defender who that's their job is to look over the entire case, watch everything, read everything, get completely abreast, and then file an amended appeal that is the real appeal. They have, in Lori's case, filed for many, many uh, extensions. It's taken them a really long time, partly because it took forever for the clerk to get him everything that he needed. Like the court filed a whole bunch of extensions before they ever got him the transcripts and everything he needed from the trial and from all of the hearings and all of the everythings. And so once they got all of that together, now they have finally gotten their initial appeal filed. So when Jim Archibald filed, he had 16 points. And his was filed in questions. Did the court err by doing this, doing this, doing this? Of course, 404B came up. A speedy trial came up, kicking out Mark Means came up, and various things. There were 16 things that he had asked. So it's kind of a jumping off point for the appellate attorneys, though they really have their own, opinions in their own mind and go ahead and do all of the research and then file it. So that brief has finally been filed. It is 64 pages long. It's a very succinct synopsis of what was accused, of what happened, about how each thing played out. And they are identifying 5 things that they feel like are ways that Lori Vallow's constitutional rights may have been violated. So they've now filed that. So now the appellate court takes a look at it. The appellate court is a team of 3 judges, a panel of 3 judges. They will now go over this appeal and all of the attached stuff that comes with it to decide if there's merit to any of those things. There'll be some kind of an argument at some point, though we're probably not privy to it. But this is where this all starts. So this is his opinion about the ways that her rights may have been violated. Uh, and again, did I say 6? There's 5. There's 5. So
You
Lori
said 5.
Vallow, I said 5. Okay. For
Hmm.
some reason, I had 6 in my head all day, and there's actually only 5. So Lori Daybell was deprived of her Sixth Amendment right to counsel of her choice when the district court disqualified her retained attorney. So this is when Mark Means was disqualified from representing her. So if you recall, Mark Means was disqualified because of what the courts were calling a conflict of interest. The reason why is because in the spring, and this was in 2021. So in the spring of 2021, the state had asked to disqualify him because they said that he was also the attorney of record for Chad Daybell for a certain amount of time. And they can't represent both. You can't represent both of them. At the time they were being tried together. They have to have separate attorneys. They can't, one attorney can't represent them both, and one attorney can't be privy to both of their cases. That's just, that's a violation of their rights. And so, at any rate, that was the initial filing, and that was in the spring. And the judge asked him, Mark Means, in open court, did you represent Chad Daybell? And he said no. He told the judge
Yeah.
no, he didn't, which
He
was a
didn't even.
flat lie.
It was. He didn't even say what was publicly true that everybody knew. He literally said no.
No. So the state comes back and they're like, Judge, yeah, he did. He tweeted a year ago. So this was back in 2020 when Lori was incarcerated. Chad was not. This was about a month before the kids were found. So this was in May of 2020 that Mark Means tweeted that he was the attorney of record for Chad Daybell, and if anyone had any questions for Chad or needed, anything from Chad, they should speak to him. Tweeted that.
Yeah.
Then in open court, 1 year later, when he's asked about it, he says, "No, I didn't represent him." Okay, so again, they're like, "Judge, yeah, he did." He didn't get disqualified at that time. Later on in the fall, and this is while Lori has been deemed incompetent and is in the state hospital, Mark Means' behavior had really escalated. And, I don't know if you guys remember the filings, but
Oh my God. Well, he was saying there was this conspiracy between the Mormon Church and the Department of Health and Welfare and the prosecutor's office to violate Lori's rights and all
yeah.
kinds of, it was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah. So they file again and say, "Judge, why does he get to be on this case? He had a conflict of interest. He should not be on it." And this time the judge says, "You know what? Agreed. He shouldn't." Lori was very, very upset. That kicked her back to, or that moved her to having then Archibald and Thomas as her public defenders. She was very angry. There was a big to-do about that. And at the time, her public defenders were trying to claim that her due process rights were being violated because, according to the Sixth Amendment, you can have whoever you want for your attorney, including yourself. Lori she's been a big flexer of the Sixth Amendment. Let's be real.
She has.
Right. Mark Means did talk to Chad the day that the kids' bodies were found. Yeah.
Yep.
And then turned him over to John Pryor, who was somebody who was an attorney that Pryor knew. Pryor and Mark Means shared an office. They weren't necessarily associates, but they shared a building. So, at any rate, that's the first one. Nobody was really surprised when Mark Means was excluded. Mark Means was in trouble with.
I really think he was in trouble with the bar. We never knew that for sure, but he had done a bunch of really unethical shit. And he was doing all of this crazy filing while Lori was incompetent in a state hospital and her case was stayed. And yet he was in court every other week with some crazy accusation. And all of the big long filings with all the quotes and, like just bizarre stuff.
This is when Lori from the state hospital called the law firm that represents the Mormon Church
Yeah.
and tried to get them to talk to her about her case, and they refused to, but they did let the state know that that happened. So the state let Mark Means know that that happened, and then Mark Means went crazy accusing the state of all of this malfeasance, and they're like, "What the hell? We
Yeah.
didn't
We just
call."
we just told you they told us.
And then he was accusing the state, or the state hospital of all kinds of stuff, setting her up, setting him up, doing this, on purpose to try to deny her of her rights, and just all of this stuff. It
It
was
was
wild.
really unhinged. It was like, are you going home and drinking and then writing this shit?
Well, the filings were
They were
absolutely loaded with errors.
crazy. Yeah.
And when we joke
And
about
a
heavy on the
jillion
mark,
pages long.
yes. And when we joke about heavy on the Mark Means air quotes, that's where those came from, were those filings. They were something to behold. I
And
wish
it
I'd
was like
saved all of them. I don't have them anymore.
there were quotes in like every single sentence in
Yep.
that in those documents. It was wild.
Yeah. But this is one of the things that Craig Durham thinks could be something that could be appealable, is that she was not allowed to keep Mark Means. Uh, he also believes she was deprived her Sixth Amendment right to the assistance of counsel during pretrial hearings on the state's motions to disqualify her counsel after the district court denied her attorney's request to participate in those hearings. He also thinks that she was deprived her right to due process under the 14th Amendment when the district court held pretrial hearings that affected her substantial rights in her absence and while she was incompetent. So during that 8-ish months that she was incompetent, they continued to have hearings without her and to keep the
Not
process moving along. But really, they were having them with prior, but they were making decisions that were affecting her too.
right. They would say this, they would say Ms. Vallow's case is stayed, but Mr. Daybell's
Mm-hmm.
isn't. So
Yeah.
they did address it over and over and over again in hearings. The
Mm-hmm.
only time they really had anything that was relevant to her, it was when Mark Means came flying into court with something wild.
Yeah.
And they kept, saying we're doing the best we can with this, but there are two defendants and one is competent, the other one isn't. Like, it was a big mess. No, Mark Means was not Summer's lawyer.
No, that was the guy in Arizona that was Summer's lawyer and Melanie's lawyer and Zulema's lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah, Mark Means was only Lori Vallow's lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And Chad Daybell's briefly.
Yep. He also thinks that the district court erred in allowing the state to introduce evidence of uncharged bad acts from Arizona into the Idaho criminal trial. This was 404B.
Right.
If you remember Lori's trial, you remember that the 404B objection came in about 1,000 times. And we knew that this would be a part of the appeal. This has been basically what we expected to be the main appeal all this time.
I mean, it was addressed in hearings over and over again, the reason behind it, because that was the theory of the case. And it was the,
there was also
the
an
common
admonition to the
scheme.
jurors about 404B as well.
Yes.
And then number 5, the district court erred in denying Daybell's motion to dismiss based on a violation of her statutory and constitutional rights to a speedy trial. They're going to really struggle with that one because she was incompetent and was in the state hospital for 8 months, and that was a big part of that.
She was the reason for that. But this is the thing. What he's saying is these are the things that the appellate court should look at to see if they were handled correctly. He's not even necessarily saying these are reasons to give her a new trial, but these are reasons that happened that might be a reason for a new trial. And they have to look at, like, were these things handled appropriately? Did they do it the right way? Because all of these things could be a reason for a new trial, and they also could have been handled correctly by the judge. And if they were, then they're not. So it's not a given by any means.
No, these are just the things that he has really picked out that potentially could be called on. Yeah. So that's, quite a few less than the 16 that Archibald initially picked out on. So this is
Hmm.
kind of where it's at. So he has two remedies in mind. One of them, he asks the court to reverse her judgment of conviction and remand for an order dismissing all charges against her based on a violation of her statutory and constitutional right to a speedy trial. He's saying you just have to throw the whole thing out. If they won't do that, he says then they should reverse the judgment of conviction and remand her for a new trial based on the errors in issues 1 through 5. So now it will be up to the appellate court to take a look at what he's talking about and make some decisions about whether they feel like these are that egregious or not.
Well, and it's not like those would be the only remedies. Those are the remedies he's suggesting, but
Right.
they're not the only remedies out there. I mean, one of the main remedies that we've seen many times is if there really is a problem, they might amend the sentence. Like
Mm-hmm.
they could come back and say, well, instead of saying that these life sentences are consecutive, we'll just say they're concurrent
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. Like
Yeah.
the problem is it's really not going to get overturned. And even
No.
if they amend the sentence, it's still not going to be less than life. It just
No.
isn't.
No.
3% of appeals prevail. 3%.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there was nothing they bent over backwards. The judge bent over backwards. And so did the prosecutor
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that her rights were protected. And ultimately, when
Absolutely.
they got rid of Means, it was to her benefit that they did. He was a nightmare and
Mm-hmm.
was making her case about him. I don't know if you all were with us back then, but every single hearing was not about Lori.
No.
It was about, Your Honor, they're picking on me. They're doing this to me. They're conspiring against me. It was all me,
It was all about the
about me from
prosecutors
Mark
being mean
Means.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was crazy because it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't even like, this is not good for my client. No, it was him personally. He was taking offense to all of these things that were happening personally, and he was going to he was, you know how John Pryor's been like, Your Honor, they gave me that at 5:45 p.m. on a Friday. That kind of stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's all Means ever did, was he was getting picked on by the prosecutor's office or by the judge or by health and welfare or by whoever. The Mormon church at one point came up. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I
Well,
guess
he had
because
this
she'd called
whole
them.
conspiracy built up by the time he was removed that the prosecutor's office, Idaho Health and Welfare, and the Mormon church were all colluding against his client.
Yeah. Yeah.
He made some big accusations, honestly. So, what will happen here? Well, it'll take forever. We won't hear anything for many months.
Right.
There's no set time frame for the appellate court to take a look at this or make any kind of a ruling or schedule anything or do anything.
Right.
Their assistants will now read through this. They'll start making their recommendations. Like, this takes forever. And the appellate courts in Idaho are really, really underwater. And so this stuff just takes a super, super long time.
It
So,
does.
yep. I
It does.
think,
And you're right. Joelle, that the appeal, what they have to show is that the things that happened would have given a reasonable chance of a different outcome. If any of
right.
those things had happened differently, is it possible that Lori would have been found innocent? I'll tell you what, I don't think so. But the only thing there is the 404B determination. But I really think that they did an excellent job of proving the common scheme that they
Mm-hmm.
needed to be able to prove in order to use that as their theory of the crime, the prosecutor's theory of the crime. That's why they
Mm-hmm.
did it.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any question that that was in fact very true. It may be interesting to the court to go back and see that, yeah, those were uncharged cases in Arizona then, but she's been convicted of both of them now.
Yeah.
So would there really have been a different outcome? Probably not.
Probably not. But just for funsies or horror, can you imagine if they overturned and we had to do this again?
Oh my God.
Can you imagine?
I No, I don't want to.
I
There's no
can't
way in
even
hell they
fathom.
wouldn't. If it came back and said she had to have a new trial, Idaho would do it. There's
Oh,
no question.
well, they would 100% do it. Yeah, but
Yeah.
can you fathom that? I know. Please no. I know, but I always have to go to, balls to the wall and think about the worst
Right.
possible outcome. They were never going to let her walk away. That's not going to happen. There will be no just overturning this and have a nice life. Even if
Right.
that was the case, she'd just go to prison forever in Arizona, but they will not do that. But
No.
and giving her a new trial is so incredibly unlikely. But just
That is
imagine for a
the
minute if they
nuclear
did.
option.
Whew. Right? I was thinking about that too, Journey to Justice. Would she then decide she would just be her own lawyer this time?
Oh my God.
And we have to watch an 8-week trial of Lori representing herself?
Well, it would be a
And
complete
also,
disastrous shit show.
that whole 404B conversation would be a little different considering that she has been convicted of the other crimes now. So,
Right.
ooh. Anyway,
Yeah.
right? She's
Right.
being
But she,
exonerated. She's training up for Dancing with the Stars. Yeah.
Sanders putting in her 2 cents there.
I think she would too. I think she'd represent herself. I think she absolutely would.
Oh, hell yeah. And we are going to be covering so many more cases this week. And somebody asked, are we going to cover the murders in Minnesota? And yes, most
Yeah,
definitely we will be covering those.
absolutely.
The 2 politicians and their spouses, definitely.
Without a doubt. Yeah. Oh, Terry's a new sub and wanted to tell you how much she loves your glasses.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And
I get
welcome.
that like several times a week, which is awesome. I love these glasses too.
Did a good job picking. We're also going
Yeah.
to talk about how un-okay Utah is right now.
Oh yeah. And a whole lot of gun crime.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's going to be a week. Gonna be a week. Yep. But
That's it.
so that's what the appeal looks like. That's again, don't be on pins and needles. It'll take forever to hear anything on this, and it's just going to take time. So no worries, no anything.
No.
All is well. As far as I know, juror number 5 is the only one that we've heard about so far.
Yep.
And juror number 5 basically said, yeah, we knew she was full of shit from the beginning. So that's good. We wanted to be sure, and it sounds like, yeah, that was that's exactly what happened. But yeah, the jurors have been pretty quiet. The way they ended this one, they really sheltered the jurors. I don't know if they did it on purpose or not, but they really sheltered the jurors from the press this time in a way that did not happen last time. So
I
there just
imagine
has
it
been
was
a
on
lot less.
purpose. I'm sure eventually we'll hear from some of them, but I hate the idea of reporters running them down as they're
I do
leaving
too.
after giving their verdict. I just think that's wrong.
Yep.
They have been through some stressful shit thanks
Yeah.
to these idiots, and you know.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I know. I'm always nervous when jurors speak out too. It's scary. Yeah.
It is, but Jesus, let them have a couple days to think
Yeah.
about it and get back into their real lives and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I
For
bet we'll hear
sure.
from others. Not yet, and that's all
Probably
right.
not. Justin Lum did an absolutely beautiful interview with Brandon Boudreaux.
Mhm.
Check that one out. It's really good. Justin is one of my favorite journalists in all of the world. He is so
Yeah.
good. He's just
He's
such a
really
good
awesome.
person. But go check that out for sure. Yep.
Mhm.
All righties. Well, we had talked about doing some comparisons of Lori and Chad with some of the other crazy people that have been in trouble for similar things. And one of the things we talked about was a comparison between Lori Vallow and Jodi Hildebrandt. So, Kristi, take it away.
I think we're going to listen to the song first, and then I'm going to give you some comparisons about them, and then we'll listen again because I just think we probably need to hear it twice.
I'm always down for the song twice. Yeah.
So let's listen first.
He's in a doomsday dream. You're just a... It's Lori V, the cult queen supreme. Got visions, prophecies, and a doomsday dream. You're just a therapist with a fake degree who tortured some kids and blamed energy. I saw zombies, you saw connection breaks. I had Chad, you had Tupperware flakes. You taught Ruby how to starve with flair. Girl, I'd have hired you if I still had a care. I wore lipstick to court, did my hair like a saint. You were smug in judgment, girl, that ain't quaint. You preach distortion, nah, you preach control. You're just Dr. Gaslight with a Jesus scroll. Lori, Lori, with your lifetime plot, you killed your kids and still think you're hot. You talk to spirits, I talk to moms, but we both had followers eating our psalms. You're a Walmart Jezebel, drama and doom. Thought the veil was thin, turns out it was your room. You said they're dark like some bad EA. I said they lack truth and took lunch away. You married a prophet, I made kids confess. We both wore masks, but I cleaned my mess. You left a trail of graves and lies. I left kids with trauma in their eyes. You're a Karen in a lab coat, thirsty for fame. I'm a biblical baddie with a courtroom name. You use shame like a wrench, twisted and tight. I used light to justify my night. We both got locked now, ain't that rich? But I had a cult, you're just a bitch. You taught principles by causing fear. I just tuned out and let Chad steer. You're right, you tuned out like a Netflix flick while I rewired brains with a shame-shaped stick. You hid behind Chad like a damsel possessed. I fronted my madness, still not impressed. You dance with devils, I filmed the fall. But now we both stare at the same cell wall. From drama queens to felon fame, we turn parenting advice into a flame. Now we battle from behind this gate. Two fallen stars in a twisted fate. From prepper visions to therapy lies, we con the world with our holy disguise.
I like it.
Uh, Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes. That was a Broadway style diva sing off, and I think that AI did hit that very hard. So
It
let
went
me
super
tell
hard.
you.
I love it. It's not so bad. I
Um,
befriended a wall. It's pretty much what they've got. Yep.
yeah, that's all they've got. You think Jodi won that one? All right. Well, let me tell you. I'm going to start with Lori. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her background, then Jodi, and then we'll kind of go back and forth. So Lori was born in 1973 in Loma Linda, California. We know she grew up in a Mormon family. So her parents were tax protesters, and they were way into the sovereign citizen stuff.
Hmm.
They've had battles with the IRS for about 2 decades.
Yeah.
Lori was married for the first time in 1992 at 19. This was her high school boyfriend. That marriage ended very shortly after that. Married again in 1995 and had Colby in 96, divorced in 98. She worked for some time as a hairdresser. And we know someone said we were jealous of her because she was Miss Texas. She was not Miss Texas. She was a contestant in the Mrs. Texas beauty pageant. She did not win. We also know she's been on Wheel of Fortune.
Hmm.
In 2001, Lori married Joseph Ryan, who gave his name to Colby. So he was not actually Colby's dad, but apparently adopted Colby. Then there was a big custody battle after Tylee was born in 2002. Then there was a big custody battle. She accused Joe of sexually assaulting the children.
Hmm.
Joe Ryan did eventually lose equal custody. Then in 2007, Alex Cox, Lori's brother, attacked him, claiming that he had been abusive to Lori and the children, and he served 90 days in jail for that incident. We do know that Colby did say in 2020 in an interview that he had been molested by Joe Ryan as a child. We don't know if Tylee ever said that.
Right.
So in 2018 is when Joe Ryan was found dead in his apartment from arterial sclerotic cardiovascular disease is what they think. You know, he'd been dead for a while. But we also know that there's a recording out there. We've played it on here before about her talking about how she wanted to be like Nephi and kill Joe Ryan.
Mhm.
Police have reviewed his death, but unfortunately it was far too late after the fact for an autopsy or anything. And so
Mhm.
we'll never know how Joe Ryan died for sure. In February of 2006, Lori married Leland Charles Anthony Vallow, who went by Charles. In 2013, they adopted Charles' grandnephew, Joshua Jackson Vallow. Let's see. Apparently, Lori started being interested in Chad Daybell's books in 2015, right? Reading Standing in Holy Places series. And that's where she kind of got more and more invested in the radical religious beliefs, reading books about near-death experiences and listening to podcasts by excommunicated Mormons. We know Visions of Glory was in there somewhere too. She went to a Preparing the People event in 2018, October of 2018, where she met Chad for the first time.
Mhm.
And that Lori was with Melanie Gibb and Zulema Pastenis. It's really weird to read these names and be like, I know exactly who all these people are.
Mhm.
That she was immediately very flirtatious with him at that very first meeting.
Mhm. Well, she took over his booth.
Yeah, she did. Took over his booth, sold his books.
Yep.
This time is also when Chad told Lori that they had been married in multiple previous lifetimes, and they started communicating privately after that.
Mhm.
Communicating. We know after that first meeting, Charles was on a business trip. She had an overnight gathering at her house. Chad and Melanie Gibb were some of the people that were there. So was Zulema. Chad was sharing all of his wackadoodle stuff. And she developed a really strong attachment to him and his teachings. And that's when they became lovers.
Mhm.
They first appeared together on the Preparing a People podcast in December of 2018. Like, this is from the end of October to December in the same year. Crazy how fast this all happened.
Yeah.
That podcast episode was called Time to Warrior Up. And the two were actually featured in several other episodes. Time to Warrior Up.
Yep.
Jesus, that has a completely different meaning when you think about it now.
Yeah.
So we know that a religious group formed around Chad and his teachings, and Lori was a big part of that.
Mhm.
This is when Lori started telling people that they belonged to the Church of the Firstborn and that Chad was the leader. This is when, they really spin off into Chad's the Prophet Land.
Mhm.
The group included Melanie Boudreau, Melanie Gibb, Alex Cox, and Zulema Pastenis, who then we know became Alex Cox's girlfriend and wife.
Yeah.
And Melanie Gibb and Lori co-hosted a podcast called Feel the Fire. That just kind of leads you
fire,
up.
Or
Probably gross, right? We know the rest of the story, right? But that's a little bit about her history. And, as we've talked about before, tons of people have talked about it. It explains a lot about Lori's behavior in court and representing herself and all that jazz when when you see that history with her family, because her dad, oh my God.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Jodi Hildebrandt, because we don't really know as much about her and her background.
Yep.
She was born to J.D. Hildebrandt and Florence Haney in 1969 in Utah. She attended Canyon Del Oro High School and played on the girls' basketball team. See, she was gay clear back then. That's all I'm saying. She was part of the high school's 1986-87 team, which finished with an undefeated 28-0 record. And got the girls, that school's first state championship at girls basketball. She then went, this is gross, Ricks College for 1 year.
She
Guys,
did.
We were children at this time in little old Rexburg, Idaho. She was probably our neighbor.
Well,
She
yeah,
played
we
on the
lived
women's.
right off campus. We grew up
Yeah,
right
we
off
did.
campus. Yeah.
We did. She played basketball for the 87-88 season. And then she transferred to Utah Valley Community College that she went to for a year. Her parents were devout members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Mm-hmm.
Her father was a pilot with the United States Air Force. She participated, I did not know this, in the Miss Orem pageant in 1990.
What?
She and Lori were both into the pageant scene. I did not know that about her.
Wow.
In 1996, she graduated from BYU with a Bachelor of Arts in English Language and Literature. In 2003, she graduated from the University of Utah with a Master's of Arts in Educational Psychology. Her master's thesis was titled Experiences of Latter-day Saints Women and How Their Culture Influences Their Manifestations of Sexuality.
Really?
Are you motherfucking kidding me?
Wow.
Also, a weird thing about Jodi, I know this because I went to school to be a social worker. You are encouraged to go to different schools in different places as you are like going from your bachelor's degree to your master's to your PhD to get some different perspectives on life. Like if I had gone on to get my master's degree, I would have done it out of the state of Idaho for that reason. All of Jodi's schooling, except for Rick's College, was all in Utah.
All in Utah.
So
yeah.
I'll tell you that there's a real bent to the mental health programs and some of these schools, not all of them are Mormon owned, but in Utah, concerning and interesting.
Culture.
I would be very curious to read some of that, not all of it, but some of that thesis.
Yeah.
The hell was she writing about? Miss Closeted Lesbian. That's
Definitely.
been confirmed now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then so obsessed with pornography.
Yeah.
And with any natural sexual urges that human beings have.
Yeah.
Like very, very insulated and weird.
Well, also hell-bent on tearing apart marriages.
Yes, absolutely. But I mean, she's got some biases there that are so huge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But she never really got out of her bubble enough to, I don't know, maybe get some different perspective. She needed it. So she was a counselor licensed in Utah starting in 2005. In 2007, she founded the Relationship and Business Counseling Business Connections in Orem, Utah. In 2012, she was the director of the Lifestar Utah County, which that's a franchise of a national company that specializes in the psychiatric and psychological treatment of pornography and sex addiction. Who's got the obsession, Jodi? Who is it?
Right.
Who is it?
Yeah.
Her license was on probation for 18 months in 2012. That's only 7 years into her career. She's already in trouble and put on probation for 18 months after she disclosed sensitive confidential information of a former client to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and Brigham Young University, which happened between 2008 and 2010.
And this was the case where she, again, was accusing a man of being a pornography addict and among many other things, and was making them pay her an insane amount of money for counseling. He and his wife and therapy for their family. And when he finally said, "We are not paying for this anymore. You're just accusing me of all kinds of things I'm not even doing, and we're not going to pay for it. We're not doing this." She was like, "All right, well, then I'm just going to go muff up your life." And she went to the church and to his employer and told them a bunch of
fired from BYU.
Lies and got him in trouble with his church as well. Yep.
Yeah. Insane.
Yeah.
So then we know she was a business partner of Ruby Frankie. They launched a YouTube channel called Connections in 2022. See, Ruby kind of came in at the tail end of all of this.
Yeah.
They also had a joint Instagram account that was called Moms of Truth, offering parenting classes. As we know, her license to practice mental health was revoked on May 10th of 2024.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we know what happened with them since. I mean, she is at the Utah State Correctional Facility, Dell facility, since her sentencing. Her first parole hearing is scheduled to take place in December of 2026, which is gross.
Yeah.
That seems way too soon, but that is
Mhm.
Utah's way of sentencing people is really strange. It's very
Mhm.
different from any other state I've ever seen.
It's really open-ended. Yeah.
Judges have very little say.
Mhm.
Jodi does give lesbians a bad name. She fucking pisses
Mhm.
me off, man.
Yeah. And well, and therapists. Yeah.
And therapists, you bet.
Mhm.
But it's really aggravating that she and Ruby Frankie both, their sentencing is so up in the air. We have no idea how long they're going to serve.
No.
And if it will be anywhere near long enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jodi was never married.
She was, actually.
Oh, she was.
But this information that I found does not actually give me the information. She was married. She does have some children. They're estranged.
Okay. Okay.
And then, of course, we know about her niece that stayed with her, and there was some abuse there too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But as I understand it, there were the people that are closest to her have been estranged from her for a long time
Mhm.
because of her behavior.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Jamie, not all basketball players are gay. You're right. I know. It's just a red flag. If it was softball, oh, we'd be fighting. But
Oh, that's
just
funny.
kidding. Yeah. Okay. So, isn't that weird that they both did pageants?
Also, I mean, with Laura, you kind of see it, you know. She could be a pretty woman. She could be a little glamorous, but Jodi's as horse-faced as they come.
Yeah. I
I
can't
know.
even
That's
imagine.
mean. That's terrible to say, but
I question with Jodi and her difficulties with her sexuality, how many things she did that she very much did not want to do. And
it's a
if one
good
of those things was that pageant,
good point.
trying to
Yeah.
prove her straightness and worthiness,
Mhm.
because that is definitely a real, very real thing.
Yeah.
For lesbian women,
Mhm.
particularly, growing up in a Mormon church
Yeah.
or any other fundamental church,
Yeah. Yeah.
trying to prove her worthiness. But her real heavy focus on other people's sexuality, I find interesting. We have a lawmaker in Idaho that's from here in Idaho Falls who's a very similar person, actually,
Yes.
and who, a lot of people believe to be closeted. I'm not outing anybody because I'm not going to
Right.
say her name, but
No, but she works really hard to discriminate.
she works
Really
very hard to
super
discriminate. She is obsessed with other people's genitalia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's come out in, attacking trans kids mainly
Mhm.
here in Idaho. And it's weird.
Mhm.
She's an adult woman with no children.
Mhm.
But she's real concerned about what's in somebody's pants if they're playing girls' sports here in Idaho.
Mhm.
Which, by the way, we've had actually very little trans participation in sports in Idaho anyway.
Right.
Who would
But
want to in this stupid state?
it's taken a lot of her energy. But she also played
It's like her
basketball
whole
and
career.
coached college basketball.
She did play basketball and she did coach college basketball. Yes, she did.
Yeah.
I know. I can't help but see some comparisons between the two.
Oh, they look alike. Yeah.
They do.
They
They
do
look
look
alike. They have similar attitudes about
Mhm.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. Aaron, Jodi did destroy so many families and marriages, all for hate of
Yeah.
men and her own sexuality. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like in all of that time, she lacked so much self-awareness that she couldn't see that she was playing out her own issues with herself
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah,
all of it, and
or
really
she
screwed up other
could
people.
see, but didn't care.
Didn't
But
want to
she
admit
also
it.
was exploiting
Didn't want to
people
admit
for
it.
money. I mean,
She was
she
big time.
exploited people for a lot of money, including
Yeah.
Ruby Frankie, one could argue,
Right.
because Ruby's the one that had the platform. When they partnered up,
Yeah.
Ruby's the one that had the platform, not Jodi.
Yeah. It was a big benefit to her to get her stuff out there further, but the charging $12,000 a month and crazy shit, or $12,000 for these courses and things.
Mm-hmm.
She made a shit ton of money off from
Mhm.
people that she destroyed them and destroyed
Yeah.
their relationships. And
Well, and off of the Mormon Church, because she
Mhm.
was one of their preferred providers that they were
Right.
referring to, and some of the counseling that she was offering was being paid for by bishops. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's billing it straight to the Mormons.
Hmm.
And clearly, disclosing things. It's
Right.
like Scientology with that price, right? I mean, it is. It is. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
so ick. But right from the very start, that her thesis was on women's sexuality in the Mormon church. Oh my God. I would be so curious
Oh,
to see
you'd need
what
your
she
punching
wrote
pillow.
about
I
or
can
what she
tell.
said.
Well,
How screwed up it must be.
mm-hmm. I'll bet it's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, so much. Yikes. Well, with that, now you kind of know a little bit about them both. Let's listen to the song one more time.
It's Lori V, the cult queen supreme. Got visions, prophecies, and a doomsday dream. You're just a therapist with a fake degree who tortured some kids and blamed energy. I saw zombies, you saw connection breaks. I had Chad, you had Tupperware flakes. You taught Ruby how to starve with flair. Girl, I'd have hired you if I still had a care. I wore lipstick to court, did my hair like a saint. You were smug in judgment, girl, that ain't quaint. You preach distortion, nah, you preach control. You're just Dr. Gaslight with a Jesus scroll. Lori, with your lifetime plot, you killed your kids and still think you're hot. You talk to spirits, I talk to moms, but we both had followers eating our psalms. You're a Walmart Jezebel, drama and doom. Thought the veil was thin, turns out it was your room. You said they're dark like some bad DA. I said they lack truth and took lunch away. You married a prophet, I made kids confess. We both wore masks, but I cleaned my mess. You left a trail of graves and lies. I left kids with trauma in their eyes. You're a Karen in a lab coat, thirsty for fame. I'm a biblical baddie with a courtroom name. You use shame like a wrench, twisted and tight. I used light to justify my night. We both got locked now, ain't that rich? But I had a cult, you're just a bitch. You taught principles by causing fear. I just tuned out and let Chad steer. You're right, you tuned out like a Netflix flick while I rewired brains with a shame-shaped stick. You hid behind Chad like a damsel possessed. I fronted my madness, still not impressed. You dance with devils, I filmed the fall. But now we both stare at the same cell wall. From drama queens to felon fame, we turn parenting advice into a flame. Now we battle from behind this gate. Two fallen stars in a twisted fate. From prepper visions to therapy lies, we con the world with our holy disguise.
Well.
Well, sorry. Were they ever in a room together? That's what we could expect. Yep.
I'm afraid so. Probably the singing wouldn't be as good. More off key.
Probably. I wouldn't mind hearing a scripture dance off between them as well.
I know. I got to figure out how to do one of those. Wait till you hear Chad Daybell versus Brian David Mitchell.
Yeah, I
Oh,
can't
you're
wait
going to love
to
it.
hear that.
Now that I've got started with these, I can't stop.
Yeah.
They're really a lot of fun.
That or they'd be best friends from hell. They would probably be frenemies. They'd probably, I love you so much, and pull
Mm-hmm.
that kind of routine to each other's faces, all while trying
Yeah,
to undermine each other behind their backs.
probably.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see it. Because they're both so opportunistic.
Yes.
They'd
Yeah.
try to benefit from each other somehow.
Without a doubt. Yeah. I want to let you know we're just running our regular schedule this week. No trial right now, so thank God for that. We have a
Yay.
week. We have a week. It's more than a week, but Now we'll see. The defense in Koberger is asking for another continuance. We don't think they'll get it,
I don't think they're
but
going to get it.
I think that Judge Himmler's pretty much like, or Hippler, not Himmler. Hippler's like, yeah, we're going to trial. We're going. So, of course, Koberger jury selection starts at the end of July. So that's going to come up faster than you think. But until then, we've been making a list of everything else that we're following and when they start. And we've got a hot minute before anything else starts. So that's good because there's a lot of other crimes going on that we need to talk about. So we'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, regular schedule. We're going to be talking about some of the gun crimes that happened here in the U.S. over the weekend, the murders that happened in Minnesota, as well as some of the things that went down in Utah over the weekend. Oh my God, a lot going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wednesday, we'll be back at 6 p.m. for case updates, and then it is the watch party this week. So we're going to watch Memories of a Murderer, the Nilsson tapes. This is a serial killer from Scotland, and it is
Oh,
really interesting.
it is. Yes.
And it's him making tapes of, his thoughts, and it's something. Trying to branch us out a little bit. We end up with so much U.S. crime, and we're not the only ones. I mean, sometimes it seems like that, but at any
Mm-hmm.
rate, if you want to be a part of the watch party, you just have to join the watch party over on Buy Me a Coffee. So head over to truecrimesquad.com and there's a link there to join the watch party. Click on it, join our Buy Me a Coffee there. I think it's what, $2?
Mm-hmm.
It's super cheap. And then we'll email you a link the day of the watch party. It's at 7:15 Mountain Daylight Time on Wednesday night. So it's always right after the show. And then we'll send you a link. So the way it works, it's a live stream, a lot like what you're watching right now, except for what you'll see on the screen is that. We
Mm-hmm.
can't stream it because that's illegal, but you can stream it. So how the watch party works is we all stream it on our own devices and we chat together in our chat room just like this. So it's a lot of fun. We've been doing these for a few years now and we've had a blast with them. So if you want to join us, that's how to do it. And we'll remind you again the next 2 days about what we're watching, but that's what to watch for.
Yes, yes. It's
And
going to
then,
be
of course,
good.
we'll be back on Thursday at 3 p.m. as well. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Yeah, Corey Richins definitely on our list. Donna Adelson, Koberger, James Craig. He's not going to trial, I think, until October, at least as of now. But you know how fast these things get changed.
Mm-hmm.
We don't
Billy
know. We'll
Wagner, who
see.
still does not have a trial date.
Mm-hmm.
The hell.
Yep. Yeah, those are all on our list. And then, of course, Shanna Gardner Fernandez as well.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting summer. That is for sure.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So, thank you for being here. Please like, share, follow if you haven't. That helps us a lot. We appreciate it. The super chat's on. We appreciate tips there always, not required, but certainly appreciated. You can
We
also
are working on some new merch for this last trial. We just
Mhm.
got to catch up, but
Yeah.
we will have definitely some new things
Yeah,
coming
that's on our
very
list
shortly.
this week. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think all of our nervous systems are settling now that we're done with
Yeah.
Lori's trial.
Don't have to keep listening to her voice. That's really, really good for me.
This is true. Yeah. Alrighty, well, guys, take good care of yourselves. We will be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. Thanks so much for being here. This has been yet another production of the True Crime Squad.
Bye, everybody.
Season 6, we're back again. Kristi and Katie, your crime time friends. Stories, justice, laughs collide. True Crime Squad, come join the ride. Grab the clues, let's take a stand. For victims' voices, hand in hand. True Crime Squad, it's time to shine. Season 6, your turn, your time. True Crime Squad, where justice meets hilarity.